another important aspect of Madkhalism is working with state intelligence agencies and state agencies. And I have proven this, but I've used the sources themselves. So here is a tweet or a thread. Madkhalis like Shamsi often claim that there's no proof that they're agents who work with the secret police. This is absurd. There's much proof of this. The most obvious proof is that Madkhali scholars themselves openly encourage other religious scholars and students of knowledge to work with the secret police. Sometimes Madkhali scholars also explicitly say that others are free to think of them as agents working with the secret police. Below are 4 examples from prominent Madkhali scholars. So now let me bring these examples. There's 4, but I'm just going to play one.
طعنوا في الشيخ محمد أمان. أما الشيخ محمد أمان فقد ناله الحظ الأكبر والنصيب الأعظم في السب والشتم، بل كانوا يقولون إنه الشيخ محمد أمان 3 نجوم إيش يسمونه؟ نقيب في المخابرات، والشيخ ربيع أبو خيط واحد، أبو دبورة واحد.
So he's saying that he's responding to a criticism. People are criticizing the Madkhalis and the founders of the Madkhalis, like Jami and Rabi al-Madkhali, Rabi bin Hadi al-Madkhali, that they're agents, that they are working with the government and they even have their stripes. You know, that's how closely affiliated they are with state agencies.
شوفوا التصنيف والله يا اخوان، هذا كله سمعناه وناقشناه، يا سبوهم سب لا نظير له. لكن ايش يقولون؟ طعن عام، مباحث. ايش المباحث؟ انا اذكر الشيخ
Agents? What agents? Like, okay, they're agents?
رحمة الله عليه ابن غديان جو قالوا يقولون ان هذا محمد امان وما ادري من وهذا مباحث. قال يعني وش يقولون؟ قال يقولون مباحث. قال يعني وش مباحث؟ قال يعني يقولون انهم مباحث حق الدولة. قال عجيب.
So there is this sheikh that is being asked about others being agents of the state, and he's saying, so what? You know, agents of the state? What do you mean?
وش فيها؟
What's wrong with that?
رحمة الله عليه الله.
Oh, it's so funny. So it's such a funny joke.
النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كان يرسل العيون يعني شنو؟ قال لهم تسمونهم مباحث؟ قال احنا في الشرع نسميهم عيون، المباحث يعني عيون.
Even the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam had agents, عيون, eyes, you know, spies. The Prophet had spies sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So what's wrong with being an agent of the government? What's wrong with being an agent? You're a sheikh or you're an imam and you're also an agent of the state spying on people. What's wrong with that?
عيون للحاكم على ايش؟ المجتمع والبلاد والثغور والحدود كلها، يشوفون اي شر يخبرون. قال ضروري. قال اجل لو قامت لكم انتم دولة ما تبي تحطون مباحث.
If you have a state, wouldn't you have an intelligence agency? Obviously.
مثلا هم لو قامت لهم دولة ما بيحطون مباحث؟ ما بيحطون مخابرات؟ ها هذه مسكوا مصر الآن صحيح؟ ألغوا المباحث، ألغوا المخابرات، ما ألغوا، بالعكس راح إيش؟ يزيدونها لا شك. ما في مانع. والله إذا كانوا مباحث حق مثل الدولة اللي تحكم بشرع الله في السعودية، اللي إيران والدول أهل البدع وأهل الكفر كلهم ضدها، مرحبا بالمباحث يا شيخ. ها؟ قال الشيخ وش فيه؟
So if the people of bid'ah are against intelligence agencies, we love intelligence agencies. Intelligence agencies are wonderful. They're great.
يا الله يا اخوان احنا دائما كنا نقول لا ما هم مباحث. ليش قال وش فيه؟ وش يعني مباحث؟ وش فيه؟
So he's saying that we used to say, oh, they're not agents. We'd be defensive. And we say, no, they're not agents. But actually, so what if they're agents? Yeah, they're agents. There's nothing wrong with a sheikh or imam being an agent. I'm not going to be embarrassed about that. Yeah, they're agents. It's something needed. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam had uyun. He had different companions going and reporting on evil. Mukhabarat, basically. Look at the distortion. Look at how ugly this is. And I'll explain it to you in a second. But what was funny is that even Rabbi Ferris shared this. So Rabbi Ferris, when we call him an agent, he should say, so what? What's wrong with being an agent? Of course, this is not like a false claim. This is like a very clearly true claim that he's an agent. He's literally working for the UAE government. And he's even admitted it. So there's no question about that. But the point is that even if there wasn't that information, these Madkhalis shouldn't be ashamed of being called agents. As Mandakar is saying, like, what's wrong? Yeah, we're agents. Yeah, did the agents of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as you're calling them, were they spying on people to report on behalf of an unjust tyrant that, oh, this person is criticizing you, therefore we have to put him in a dungeon because he's a terrorist, and perhaps we have to even kill him? Was that what the agents in the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam were doing, or the mukhabarat, or the uyun, as he said? Were they representing a tyrant? When I would be left from that kind of accusation? How can you compare these governments today, like Saudi, with the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Point number 1. Point number 2, these agents today, they go into your, oh, I heard in a private gathering that this man, he doesn't have the best view of the monarchy. He doesn't have the most positive view of the monarchy. We're going to do what? We have to put him in prison. We have to put him in prison. Like all the leaders of the Sahwa movement, like Salman al-Auda. Why was Salman al-Auda put in prison? Or why were many of these other shuyukh put in prison? Some of them that Rabbi Ferris will be talking about shortly. They're put in prison, not even at this point, it's not that they're criticizing Saudi. They're not saying that, oh, Saudi has these celebrations, Saudi is building a Hindu temple, Saudi is considering normalizing with Israel and throwing Palestinians under the bus. They're not even necessarily criticizing the Saudi monarchy. They're just not being loud enough in praising the Saudi monarchy. They're just being silent. And that is a crime in itself. That isn't a crime in itself. That has to be punished. And we can't have that, because if they're not praising the monarchy, then people will just assume that they're against the monarchy, and we don't want that assumption. We have to squash that by throwing these scholars in prison, which is what they've done. And Mandakar is saying, oh, no problem. Like, this is, so what if you're agents? Like, this is something that is needed, with this kind of disgusting analogy to the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yeah, every Muslim society needs intelligence gathering, but there are certain hudud, there are certain lines that cannot be crossed, because Muslims have rights. Muslims have rights, and one of the rights that Muslims have is the right to criticize injustice, right? This is a very clear requirement in Islam. This is nahi anil munkar. Nahi anil munkar is exactly this. That's a right that we have and a duty that we have as Muslims. But according to Mandakar, according to these Madkhalis, no, that's khuruj. If you enjoin good and forbid evil, amr bil ma'ruf wa nahy anil munkar, this is khuruj, and we are going to put you in prison. Anyway, we've addressed this in a longer video with all the proofs and all the details, the Madkhali virus video. So go to the channel, and you can see that, inshallah. The Randkhalis. And well, we put all the proof there. You can watch the evidences.